Let's go for it!
Well, I ask you, the boys said, Dad, they're going to take me to task. But I'll be back by Christmas. It's just a rumor that was spread around town. Somebody said that someone got filled in for sale.
Hey there, everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave, the host here at the Dark Stuff channel. Thanks a lot for checking out my new video. My next video here today is the next one in my series of my Incomplete Collections series. And on this one, I'm going to do Elvis Costello. And this is going to be a pretty big one because I have a pretty significant chunk of his catalog. And of course, he started 44 years ago in 1977 and has worked in so many different incarnations, as a solo artist with the Attractions, with the Imposters, with the Confederates, with Burt Bacharach, with Alan Toussaint, with all sorts of other collaborations with the Brodsky Quartet, all of these different things. And I'm not going to separate them all out. I'm just going to kind of go through all of the albums that I have, and I'll point out where I'm missing some, because I'm not necessarily looking for them, but I may be looking for them. You just never know. Okay, so the first one, I start out on CD, and it's the debut album, My Aim Is True, from 1977. This is the Ryko disc version that has, let's see here, about 7 or 8 bonus tracks on it that weren't on the original album. It's really, really good. This is the only studio album, other than a compilation, that has gone platinum inside the United States, which is pretty shocking, but I guess it's not that shocking. Elvis Costello has never been that huge in America. He's always basically been kind of an underground artist. Not cult level, because he can still play in big places, but he's always been kind of underground. So this is the debut. It has so many great songs on it. Allison, of course, the big hit. Angels Want to Wear My Red Shoes. Less Than Zero. Waiting for the End of the World. Watching the Detectives. There's no doubt that this is one of his bigger records. So the album was produced by Nick Lowe, who did most of Elvis's classic records in the 70s and early 80s. But he didn't have the Attractions with the band yet, so he didn't have his band. So it still sounds a little disjointed to me anyways, and it's sort of like that first Lou Reed record after he left the Velvet Underground. Like, it wasn't very cohesive. He was just using musicians that were hanging around. I mean, the band is the guys, they were called Clover at the time, and I guess they later went on to become Huey Lewis and the News, but either way, they were just a backup band and of studio musicians, and so that's why I don't think it has the great feel of some of the other records, but it's still great, obviously. Okay, the next album finally features the Attractions, but it's still credited just as Elvis Costello. It's called This Year's Model. Came out in 1978. Okay, I've got it on vinyl, and of course, there's the CD, the Ryko disc version, which has another 5 bonus tracks on it. This album is just amazing. The Attractions are there, the sound, the heavy keyboards and bass, and never really a dominant guitar sound. And when I saw Elvis a few weeks ago, Steve Naive was not able to make it due to some immigration COVID-style issues from where he was coming from France. And so they filled in with Charlie Sexton, who just played guitar. So it was 2 guitarists, no keyboards. And so you really notice how big a deal the keyboards are, and it was very limited what sort of songs they could choose on the record. This one is just chock full of hits. I mean, I'm going to turn it sideways so I can read it. I mean, No Action, This Year's Girl, The Beat, Pump It Up, You Belong to Me, Hand in Hand is great, Lip Service, Living in Paradise, Lipstick Folk, Radio, the infamous song that Elvis played on Saturday Night Live that got him banned for years for doing it. Fucking classic album. Okay, this was never an official release. It used to be a promo live at the El Mocambo. This is Elvis Costello and the Attractions, March of 1978. And this is where you get to hear all the songs from the first album played with the Attractions. You get to see how much better it is when they play. And this is part of the Ryko disc. reissue all the stuff in the early 90s when Rykodisc got Elvis's catalog, and really, really nice. Next studio album, of course, was Armed Forces. This is cover 1. This is cover 2. I've seen it both ways, you know, because here you got the elephants on it on the CD, and then this one you've got this thing. So, another classic album. This went gold in the United States, so it's a pretty big record. It has Accidents Will Happen. It has Oliver's Army, Party Girl, Goon Squad, Busybodies, just everything. What's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding? Classic stuff. Again, there's a period from like 1977 to 1987, that decade of Elvis Costello music. I defy anyone to find a 10-year period that is that good consistently every time. Next up would be from 1980. That would be Get Happy. This was Elvis's sort of tribute to the Motown sound, and it does have a Motownish sound. Again, very, very keyboard heavy, classic stuff. I've got the CD of it here. You can see they even put the fake ringwear on the CD. And this one has 9 bonus tracks on it, which is great. So the CD is really excellent on that. The vinyl, of course, all of the Costello records, if you can get old pressings of them, they do sound significantly better. Those remasters are excellent, and they finally understood digital mastering at some point in the 90s. But initially, those first wave CDs, if you see Elvis Costello CDs put out by CBS Sony, don't buy those. I know they're like $3.99 and you're like, oh, what a deal. But no, they're not going to sound good. The vinyl is just much, much better. So, classic album, not as well, I'm finding out, not as well known. I did a video, Best Albums of 1980, and this is my number 1 of 1980. But anyways, I Can't Stand Up for Falling Down, Black and White World, Motel Matches, B-Movie, 5 Gears in Reverse, Temptation, Riot Act, Love for Tender, Opportunity, The Imposters, Secondary Modern, Man Called Uncle, Clown Time Is Over, High Fidelity. Every single track is good. The Attractions were so on fire at this point, and they were just churning out just classic after classic, and so many damn songs. I mean, the original version of this one does have 20 songs on it. I mean, 20 songs, and there's not a bad song on here. So later on in 1980, they credited this one, Taking Liberties, just to Elvis Costello. The Attractions aren't named, but the Attractions play on most of the songs, and this is already a B-sides and outtakes collection, and a lot of the songs that were bonus tracks on those CDs that I showed were originally on here. So that's where Girls Talk, Clean Money, Talking in the Dark, Black and White World, you know, all those songs are on this particular collection. So it's really cool to have, but if you do get every other album on CD, the bonus tracks give you what this one would have. The first one from 1981 was Trust, where Elvis Costello is credited on the back of the record as looking Italian. That's what his credit is on. So good, though. Oh, my God, this album. Let's see here. Again, produced by Nick Lowe. And it has Clubland, which is just so amazing. You'll Never Be a Man, Pretty Words, Strict Time, Watch Your Step, in one of the best songs I've ever heard. From a Whisper to a Scream features the guy from Squeeze, one of the guys from Squeeze. Let's see here. Glenn Tilbrook sings backup vocals on it. White Knuckles, Shot with His Own Gun, Big Sister's Clothes, really good. Again, the CD from Rykodisc comes with 8 extra bonus tracks. So it's a solid one, but again, it does sound better on the old LPs. The second one from 1981 is called Almost Blue, and it is a country song cover album. Okay, it gets overlooked in his catalog for some reason, but it's really nice. It does Hank Williams, Why Don't You Love Me Like You Used to Do, Sweet Dreams, Success, I'm Your Toy, Hot Burrito #1, that's from the Flying Burrito Brothers. Good Year for the Roses was a single off of this. Too Far Gone, How Much I Lied, Brown to Blue, really, really nice. And the cover is just, that's such a classic image, Almost Blue. That was October 81 when that one came out. In 1982, Elvis Costello and the Attractions put out Imperial Bedroom, which is almost like considered an experimental pop record. They worked with Jeff Emmerich, who is the Beatles engineer and worked with a lot of great people in the 70s. And it has this really like just dense production, and it's very different from other Elvis Costello records. It's so much more affected, but it's also really, really good too. I mean, This one took me a little while to get into. When I started really getting into Elvis Costello, I didn't get into this one fast, but now I fucking love it because, I mean, Beyond Belief is just an amazing song. Shabby Doll, one of my favorites. Look on YouTube for Fiona Apple singing Shabby Doll with the Elvis Costello backing her up. So good. Man Out of Time. To Murder My Love Is a Crime, but Will You Still Love a Man At a Time? Oh my God, what a fucking excellent song. The Loved Ones, Boy With a Problem, Pigeon English, You Little Fool, also classic on this one. This is a must-have. It is a little dense in the production, and you're going to notice a big difference between earlier Attractions records, but like, so fucking what? It's so good. I love it. Okay, so next up is sort of a weird period for Elvis Costello and the Attractions. It almost caused the band to sort of break up, or they kind of did. I mean, the Attractions left. I have this Ryko disc promo thing, which has the two albums together, which is Punch the Clock from 1983 and Goodbye Cruel World from 1984. And what's funny is the liner notes, because they have liner notes for each one. So here's Punch the Clock, and then here's Goodbye Cruel World. And of course all the bonus tracks that come with it. And you see this is the thing. I don't have these on vinyl, but has great stuff. And in the liner notes of Goodbye Cruel World, they start off with Elvis saying, "Welcome to our worst album." Okay? I mean, so that's him saying it, not me. This is another album that took me a really long time. Goodbye Cruel World, I'm still not even totally there yet. I mean, they had some great songs, and it had that song, The Only Flame in Town, they did with Daryl Hall from Hall & Oates. But it's a really bizarre, you know, kind of overproduced, pretentious kind of poppy sort of sound. It has good songs, but let's do Punch the Clock from 83. This one I still was able to get into. The hit was Every Day I Write the Book, one of his best songs ever. And they have a live version of it, which is stellar because it's really kind of rocking. It's great. Let Them All Talk, greatest thing. It has TKO, it has Shipbuilding, an amazing ballad from Elvis Costello, Pills and Soap. Again, a couple of bonus tracks that are live. That Every Day I Write the Book live is fantastic. Goodbye Cruel World is just a big hot mess. After you get The Only Flame in Town, you know, I like Worthless Thing, I like Love Field, I Want to Be Loved. I mean, I do like the album, but I never go to reach for it. And even The Only Flame in Town, which I like Hall & Oates, I like Elvis Costello, you put them together, that song is just a little bit sort of cheesy, I think. I don't know. But this is a cool little putting the two of them together again. So we're jumping past 1984 now. Elvis kind of split with the Attractions a little bit around this time, because in 1986 he did two records, and one without them, one with them. And the first one is credited as The Costello Show, featuring the Attractions and the Confederates. Okay, it's King of America. And here's my CD of it. Also, Ryko disc. It has 5 bonus tracks on it. Beautiful album. Very, very different. Produced by T-Bone Burnett. And it has a Brilliant Mistake, Lovable, Our Little Angel, Don't Let Me Be Understood, Animals cover, Little Palaces. Every song on here is really, really good. Pop star Elvis Costello was fading, and he was getting into a different sound with this record. And again, it took me being a Costello fan for a long time before I really started to appreciate this one, and now I see the beauty in it. So the second album from 1986 is actually my favorite album, Elvis Costello album of all time, Blood and Chocolate. Again, the return of the Attractions. Here's the CD with this one has, let's see, 6 bonus tracks, so all really good. This one is just a tour de force. It's more rocking than your average Elvis Costello and the Attractions album. Has a little more guitar, but you still get the Steve Naive keyboard, still get the Bruce Thomas bass. God, every song in this is fucking good. Uncomplicated, Hope You're Happy Now, Tokyo Storm Warning. The whole side one is amazing. I Want You, one of the saddest, darkest songs I've ever heard. Fucking genius. Still gets me a little verklempt, even though I've heard it 500 times. Again, look for the Fiona Apple version. This was actually released as a single. It used to be on iTunes. I have no idea if it still is. But Fiona, on her YouTube page, posted her version of it. And again, she's backed by Elvis and the Imposters doing it. Really, really sweet. Blue Chair, Battered Old Bird, Crimes of Paris, Poor Napoleon, Next Time Around, back with Nick Lowe. Amazing on this one. Not considered by a lot of people as their favorite Costello record. A lot of people don't know it. It's too bad. You got to get yourself familiar with this one. Okay, Elvis switched record companies, and so naturally, the old record company put out a greatest hits, the best of Elvis Costello and the Attractions. Single disc, this went platinum. Okay, for Elvis Costello. Has all your basic hits: Allison, Oliver's Army, Pump It Up, Radio Radio, Every Day I Write the Book, The Only Flame in Town. Really good. Also at that time, and this was the CD that really helped me get into them, was a 2 CD collection called Girls, 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 the best of Elvis Costello. And then it says the songs of Elvis Costello, the sounds of Elvis Costello and the Attractions. And it's everything from those first couple of records, from from the debut album up through and including Blood and Chocolate. Really, really good. I doubt this can be found, but if you find this in a used thing, even though it is a Columbia version, a CBS version, which I told you a few minutes ago not to use, but it's still really, really good. And if you find it, it's worth getting. You know. So like I said, he switched record companies, took a year or two off, and in 1989 put out this album, Spike. Great. Just the Attractions were done. They were not a part of Elvis Costello's thing anymore. They were over as far as anyone was concerned. So he's being produced by T-Bone Burnett again, Kevin Killen, and Elvis Costello co-produced. Amazing songs on this one. I do say sometimes the production and the arrangements are a little bit too heavy-handed, but it's got This Town is great, you know. Let 'Em Dangle, Deep Dark Truthful Mirror, powerful, powerful song. Veronica was the hit, co-written with Paul McCartney. God's Comic, amazing. Pads, Paws, and Claws, Baby Plays Around, beautiful song. This one's really, really good. It's Spike, so good. Kind of a hit in America, again, because it went gold in the States because of Veronica, did really well. Okay, so from this point forward, it's all CDs for me. And this is also where my collection gets pretty spotty. I've been pretty consistent up to this point, but once we get into the 90s and the 2000s, Elvis did so many collaborations, it was really hard for me to follow. And even going backwards and trying to get everything, I'm missing huge chunks of this. So it starts off in 1991 with Mighty Like a Rose. And this is the, just a different packaging, like a limited packaging or whatever. This album is really, really good. I didn't like it at first. I thought it was a little too wordy and a little too, whatever. But the truth is, it has some really, really excellent songs on it. I think initially I didn't like this when it came out. I was just starting to get into Elvis, and I didn't think it had the immediacy of his earlier stuff. But The Other Side of Summer, How to Be Dumb, So Like Candy is amazing. That's another collaboration with Paul McCartney. Playboy to a Man is pretty good. So this does have some really good stuff. That's a third collaboration with him. And then the fourth one that they did with Paul McCartney was My Brave Face, which was on a Paul McCartney record, and that's a really good song too. Okay, so next in Elvis's thing, he did a record with Richard Harvey. Then he did the Juliet Letters, which is with the Brodsky Quartet. I've heard that. I don't have it. He got back together with the Attractions for Brutal Youth, even though it's again credited just to Elvis Costello, but then it says featuring Pete Thomas, Bruce Thomas, Steve Naive, and Nick Lowe, i.e. the guys that made all the classic records, but this was produced by Mitchell Froom and Elvis. This album is amazing. I love this. Another classic Elvis return to form, and it's again more rock. It's kind of like Blood and Chocolate, in that it's a more guitar and a little harder sort of album. Let's see here. Kinder Murder is great. 13 Steps Lead Down, Clown Strike, This Is Hell. 20% Amnesia is great. London's Brilliant Parade, My Science Fiction Twin. I mean, every song on here is really a fucking stone cold classic from Elvis on that one. Okay, then he put out this covers record called Kojak Variety, which is actually really good. It's got some decent tunes, some 50s stuff like Bama Lama Lama Lou, Leave My Kitten Alone, stuff like that. Then he's also got Running Out of Fools from Aretha Franklin. Days from the Kinks is excellent. It closes the album. Really good collection. Then the next album of originals is back with the Attractions, this time credited to the Attractions and Elvis Costello, which is All This Useless Beauty, came out in 1996. And this is a really good album, but it's not nearly as good as Brutal Youth. And this is the one where it's like it got billed at the time as the return of Elvis Costello and the Attractions, even though the last one technically was. But this is a really good album. I do like Complicated Shadows is excellent. Little Adams is a really nice song. Why Can't a Man Stand Alone is nice. This is a good album. It's a little more on the mellow side for me, but I do like it. Not going to complain. Again, he did a record with Burt Bacharach called Painted from Memory. I've heard it. I don't have the CD anymore. Maybe I traded it, maybe I lost it. Not sure. 2002, he did a record called When I Was Cruel. And I don't have that, but the sort of accompanying record after that, which was called Cruel Smile from 2003. And this one, although I have it and I've listened to it, you know, these are different mixes, alternate takes, whatever. I can barely even remember this CD, to tell you the truth. So I got really no thoughts on that one. Okay, put out the album North next, credited as Elvis Costello. And then the next one, The Delivery Man, which is Elvis Costello and the Imposters. So this is the first time that band has been credited as his backup band. And the thing is that, like, it's basically the Attractions just minus the bass player, because him and Elvis still butt heads and don't really like each other. So it's just a different bass player, but it's still the Attractions. This is a really, really good record, The Delivery Man. So in 2006, he did an album with Alan Toussaint. I believe he's like a New Orleans jazz player. And although I have it, I'm gonna tell you, I don't really know most of this stuff. I'm just casually looking at it. Most of these songs are Alan Toussaint songs. There are a couple of collaborations between the two. I'm sure that Elvis loved doing this record, but it's not one that I ever really listened to. I have this one, and again, this is another one that I have for my collection, but I don't really listen to it. It's a live recording, but it's different. It's Elvis Costello, My Flame Burns Blue, live with the Metropole Orchestra. Yeah, I mean, this one's more of a jazz record, and apparently it charted on the jazz charts, but it's one of these ones that I bought because I'm trying to fill in the holes in my collection, but I don't even really have much memories of this one. Last up would be the next Imposters album, which is called Momofuku. Strange name. Came out in 2008. Another strong record. Again, the Imposters are really good. And Jenny Lewis makes an appearance on there. Jonathan Rice. Those two were Jenny and Johnny at one point. Momofuku, Elvis Costello, and the Imposters. And then since that time, he's done a couple records that I've heard and I have digitally. Secret, Profane, and Sugarcane, National Ransom. He did the album with The Roots called Wise Up Ghost, which was really good. Elvis Costello and the Imposters had a 2018 record called Look Now. Elvis's most recent record is called Hey Clockface. It's decent. I have that digitally. I played it on my radio show. And then they just put out something called Spanish Model, which is they took the original tracks from this year's model and had different singers sing the songs in Spanish over it, and it's pretty interesting. It's a kind of a novelty thing, but still pretty cool. So there you go. I have a good chunk of Elvis's collection, but I am missing large portions, and if I could find any of those 90s records cheap on vinyl, I would, but I think the chances of that are pretty slim. I do also have a couple of 7 inches that I'll just show it because we're wrapping up the video here. Okay, this one's I Can't Stand Up for Falling Down. Cool picture sleeve. And I'm looking for more picture sleeve stuff of Elvis Costello. New Amsterdam picture disc. Don't really care for those, but that's a cool one. You Little Fool, Elvis Costello. Great one. Here's Every Day I Write the Book from Punch the Clock. And then this is his squeeze cover also on this one. This is pretty recent. I'd say 2018. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.